Welcome back to number 2, Bonsai Chronicles, man. We got one in the books.
That's what we do.
and that was a lot of fun. If you guys haven't listened to that one, man, go check it out. Investing 101, a lot of great advice in there and some great stories from Bonsai about money. Today we're going to talk about goal setting.
Yep.
And that's something that Bonsai started last year, I guess, or earlier this year. When did you start doing?
I think I spoke for the first time probably a year ago.
Yeah. In at our patch class, leading guys in there.
Yep.
Goal setting. So this is something that you within MA, you're kind of one of our specialty instructors, and I think men need this kind of, how to set good goals, how to do it. And I know that this is something that was missing from my life when I was in my early 20s. I was just kind of a lot of thrust and no vector. And,
right.
And so, man, I'm excited to hear your advice to young men on goal setting.
No, well, I think I have been a beneficiary of other people talking to me about goal setting and kind of getting in actual written plans and ideas of doing this, because we all talk about it. We all talk a good game of what we're going to do, right? So even with Men's Alliance, when we're doing goal setting, we have the mission of making ourselves better husbands, better fathers, better leaders. And we say that, and a lot of guys, as they're saying it, they believe it, and they get fired up, and then they go back home, and they go back into their regular routines and their regular lives. So the patch class is designed to help change your people's lives, but it's what you carry with you afterwards, and what are the things that you're going to do moving forward. And a lot of that is ongoing goal setting. So somebody says, I have an anger management issue. Well, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to read 3 books on anger management. I'm going to apply 2 or 3 the techniques on the, over the next little while. I'm going to talk to my wife and my kids about this, and we're going to do something. So the whole concept of goal setting applies to so many areas of what we do that if we're not paying attention to these things, I think it's a lot of missed opportunities. So I'm glad to be able to talk with you today and hopefully kind of share some of the things that I've done well on and some of the things I've done poorly on. You'll probably learn more about the things I've done poorly on than the good ones. But I think it's a critical topic, especially for a lot of the guys who are new to the whole concept of really looking at their lives in a sense of goals.
Yeah, I could definitely, just hearing you say that, definitely see that to be true, that we all talk a good game. Every guy has some goal, and I think there's a difference between a goal and a dream.
100%.
And maybe that's something you could sparse out for us.
Sure.
But we've all got these lofty ideas of where we want to be, or the man we want to be, or what we want to achieve. Right? We just kind of see some sort of fuzzy, vague notion of what we want our future to look like, and we're hoping to get there.
Yep. Hope is not a goal, right? And we talk to each other about how important hope is. Hope is, such a critical component of life and moving forward and maintaining optimism. And so we don't want to disparage anything involving hope, but hope is not a plan. Right. Hope is not how I get from point A to point B. And so,
in fact, the plan, having the plan, is what gives you hope.
Right. And so, to go back to what you mentioned a moment ago regarding the difference between a dream and a goal, the dream is wouldn't it be nice if we did something that you're never, ever, ever going to do? It's the fantasy type thing, and it's fun to have those. And it's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had a house on the top of a hill in Malibu or Maui or wherever you want to be, and but there's not a plan to do that. So we're going to differentiate between the dream is really something you don't really care about it. It's wouldn't it be nice if we could kind of thing, where a goal is, nope, I got to move the ball 10 yards down the field. And this is what I'm going to do to get there. That's a goal. I'm going to set a goal, agenda, a plan, a battle strategy. I'm going to have plans in mind to fix plan A. That's a goal. And
Yeah.
so when we start trying to achieve goals, it's you need to feel it's important to you and that you're going to move from point A to point B in whatever
Yeah.
topic that is. That's what I'm going to define as a goal.
Yeah. I think I heard somebody along the line say that a goal is a dream with a date attached. It's like you're
Right.
putting some quantifiable stuff around this.
Yep. Yep. And that is the urgency of a goal. And so we can take a lot of different topics and get into that, the goal setting. But I've had the privilege, years ago, I was invited to be involved in a business group that we actually called ourselves the Goal Cultivators. There was some business program that came out years ago, and I think that was the title of it. We just stole that from that. That became our little club name for folks in the business
Goal
group.
Cultivators.
Yes, it was a little
rolls
thing.
right off the tongue.
Yeah, exactly, right? But when we were involved in that, the rule amongst the people that were the participants, and this was all finance guys, and it was all a group of us that have had some level of success already, but you weren't where you wanted to be, but kind of people that were trying. And the goal was when you showed up to this, you needed to be able to contribute. You weren't there to just take ideas out. You had to come with your own, come with some ideas. And these are other professional folks. Mm-hmm. So in order to be impressive at that group, you need to put in your mental energy and have a few ideas because somebody else might have just said this thing you were going to say. So you need to come in with a group of ideas. And everybody throws it into the pot. And it became a sharing of goals because, again, you might be setting a goal that I didn't even think about, but I'm taking that goal and that's going to become my goal now. I haven't focused on that before, but I love the idea and now whoop, I'm doing that, and vice versa. And it just became this is how we share. And I did it for years, and it was really life changing. And when I say that, that people use that phrase. It's overused. Life changing is an overused phrase.
How often did you guys meet?
We met quarterly.
Okay, because you said for years. So
we did. We met quarterly for years.
Yeah, this was a big part of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would travel. We were from all over the country. Most of us guys were in the middle of the country to the East Coast. There were a few California guys. But, yep, we picked different spots in the country. So you were going to fly there. You were going to stay at a hotel, and you were paying for all of this out of your own pocket. This wasn't sponsored by anybody. This was all on us. And we would get in a room, and it was business. It was goal-setting business, and that's what we did. And it was great. And you would hear I'll tell you a quick story aside. One of the very first times I'm there, I was probably 31 when I'm there. So I'm new in business, young. They kind of saw me as the young hustler, like he's up and coming, but I hadn't done anything really of any consequence yet. One of the older gentlemen there, he leans forward. And this was one of these guys when he talked, like everybody listened kind of thing. So they asked me about my kids. I had kids. And he sits forward and he goes, I want you to spend as much time with those kids as you possibly can. He goes, I didn't do that. He goes, I chased the business. I did what everybody in business told me I was supposed to do. I went after the money. I went after the career. I wasn't home. I was always doing the business meetings. And I have a terrible relationship with my kids, and I missed it. I'm fixing things with my daughter now. I'm starting to fix things with my son. Doesn't really talk to one of the third kid. And he goes, so you do that. You spend as much time with your kids. And I was like, that just hammered home that need. And again, everyone tells you that, but when somebody in business who's also goal oriented, also says that, it was like that slap in the face. That was like, okay, somebody grabbed me by the collar that day and shook me and said, make sure I do that. And it really was important to hear that.
Yeah, the idea of balancing all these goals,
right?
All the finance, from the last podcast, all the stuff about investing, money, setting goals, keeping all that in check with what's your primary objective. I think kind of a part of this goal setting thing, maybe even like higher above that in a strategy, is like defining for yourself what success is.
100%.
Like, what does success look like to you?
Right.
And I think guys that don't ever define that for themselves or for their marriage or their family are susceptible to chasing somebody else's definition of success.
I've
Right.
done that myself, because again, when you work for some of these companies, before I became an independent, I worked at some of these financial firms, and they set goals of, income grandeur, and you're going to be the person that you see in the movies, or and they sell the dream of more money. Well, why? Because that's what they want you chasing. They want you chasing more money. Nobody's going to work harder than me. Nobody's going to put in more hours than me.
Yeah.
They actually would they would brag about, I'm not going to be outworked. And as I got older, I'm like, that's the stupidest concept I've ever heard. What do you mean? You're going to be I'm here first in the morning. I'm here last at night. And I'm going, you're an idiot.
Yeah,
You're an
I'm not
absolute
going to be
idiot.
either.
I'm not going to be any of those people, right? And so it means you're brainwashed. You're committed to the company. You're not committed to your life.
Wow.
And so I was like, nope, we're not going to be doing that in Kevy's world. That's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
Man, that is so important to have realized that and seen where this is going. I felt like from my career in the Air Force, I felt like when you joined the military, you're stepping onto a conveyor belt. And I can imagine it'd be the same thing, like going to work for a firm. It's like you hop on this conveyor belt and they have a plan for where this conveyor belt's going to go.
Right.
And if you don't do anything, you're just going to be on that treadmill. And at some point, you have to realize, where is this thing taking me? Is that where I want to be?
Right.
And maybe I might have to step off of this conveyor belt.
Right, 100%. So for me, I did want some level of economic success. It mattered to me earlier on. I was less faith-based than I am now, and I was broke when we got married, and there was a driver in me to go, I don't want to be having to worry about paying the bills. The first year we were married, I literally had for sale signs on the car. I think we might have mentioned this in the last podcast or one of the prior podcasts. The cars were being threatened to be repossessed. So we were playing hide the Toyota, from the repo people. And so there was that motivation to go, I'm just sick and tired of being broke and I don't want to be broke anymore.
Yeah.
So there was some of that. It's when you take it too far, where it becomes it is greed. It's not a goal. You're not looking at being a provider. Because I've worked with people that they have well gone beyond anything that you could say is a goal for a provider. And they're at work 60 hours a week and they can't take vacation and they can't take off. And this is crazy.
Yeah.
You're so far past any income goal that you ever would have thought you could achieve as a kid. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You told everybody when you were younger you were going to get rich so that you could do this, and then you didn't do any of those things.
You got
rich.
Went to
You
made
work.
all the money.
You have a big pile.
Yay!
Couldn't
Enjoy it.
didn't enjoy it. You just chose to blow off all the important people, all the important things, all the important family events, all the important vacations, all the important stuff, so that you can make the pile just a bit bigger. And nobody cares. Your kids don't care.
Yeah, you were telling me once about the stuff that you learned later that your kids cared the most about. Tell us about that.
So for each of the major birthdays, I would try to get a nice gift. The girls got jewelry or something like that. Same thing with my son. I would get him a watch or a rifle or something. And so they would really never talk about the stuff that we got for them. And all of the memories, all of the fun stories when the family is getting together has nothing at all to do with things. It has nothing to do with the house that we lived in. It has to do with the time we spent together, the vacations we went on, the trips, the games we played, the funny, silly things that happened on a vacation or a trip or in the backyard or whatever. It's all the time you spent together. Create the memories, create the life, create the joy in your family. And it has nothing to do with the car you got them, the house you lived in, how many bedrooms you had, or blah, 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 blah. They don't care because kids don't know that you're rich or poor comparatively, right? They have to be older before they even know that. So if
That's
you live in a
true.
one-bedroom apartment, they don't know that everyone doesn't live in a one-bedroom
Yeah, yeah.
apartment, right? So if you have 7 bedrooms in your house, that your kid doesn't know that that's cool, right? So they don't even know to be impressed. So you're not impressing a 9-year-old with your wealth. You're going to impress them and have fun with them, but not even so much impress them, but you're going to relate
Yeah.
to them and have an impact on them by your time, your energy, and the joy that you spend with them. So everything involving your goals and the things around your life, whether they're income based, and we can talk about different topics, needs to be focused on the relationships that you get to have and you get to be a
Yeah.
part of.
Man, that's your why.
Yeah.
You know, that's the why you're going to work and making the
Right.
business and building the it's for them. It's, and
Right.
you know, forgetting people that forget their why, you know, they're just spinning their wheels. Your kids enjoying, you know, the simple fun things more than the expensive things. That just makes me think about, you know, the classic image of the kid getting a big present and they play with the box
Right.
that it came in.
It's exactly.
Right. It's like, it
Yep.
doesn't matter what you get them. Their favorite part is the box. Right. And kind of like when you know, kind of talk about being silly, being goofy, playing games with them, spending that kind of time, man, that is the
Right.
stuff we remember. I guarantee you, like, I mean, everybody hearing this is thinking of something that they remember, a moment where a parent, you know, wrestled on the floor or jumped around on the couches acting like monkeys,
Right.
right? Like,
Yep.
I think me and my boys will always remember that, you know, more than, yeah, the thing you buy.
Yeah,
That's so good.
we had a couple scenes like that where, if you remember the Dr. Seuss book Hop on Pop, there is literally a picture of kids jumping on the
Yeah.
father's stomach. So they recreated that scene. They felt like they needed to recreate that. So I had my kids jumping up and down on me, and
That's
my
awesome.
son had we use the expression, "You want to scrap?" It was time to
Yeah.
wrestle and go at
Yeah.
it, and so. He's like, again, he'd attack from any different section of
Yeah.
the house, like Kato from Pink Panther. You want to scrap? And he'd come in and and it was like all of those memories would not have happened if I hadn't set rules up for how we're going to grow the company, how we're going to grow the business. I need to be home for dinner. I'm not working on the weekends anymore. Now, in the beginning, I did work longer hours and more stuff because, again, getting it off the ground. And I use the analogy of the space shuttle. When the space shuttle takes off, all of the energy and that fuel is going to be, you know, in the first mile getting off the ground. It's burning most of its fuel and its energy. Business is really the same way. You're going to burn a lot of fuel in the beginning. And Kelly was taking care of the kids and doing most of that stuff while they were babies. But as soon as I have pushed out of the atmosphere, so to speak, it was like, okay, now we can dial back the fuel burn and I can take more time off. And we started to set more rules and parameters for when to be home and how to be home and focus and focus our time on the things that were important.
Man, that's so wise to be able to recognize that you don't have to continue that burn rate indefinitely. And,
Right.
And you know, I think one of the things I've always noticed about you is how much conversation and excellent communication you and Kelly have. There's a lot of communication there. I've never gotten the sense from you that you were like going rogue
Right.
with your business and
Yeah.
decision making. And I think
Yeah.
that's something to just kind of highlight here is like any type of goal setting that we're talking about is not made just by you, right? This is like a conversation with your wife, goal setting.
Yeah, because again, it does involve, you know, my time home or time away, or when am I going on business trips? And if I'm going on a business trip by myself, am I leaving her home with 3 kids? So our kids
Yeah.
are all, they were all born within 4 years. So they're roughly, you know, not a little more than 18 months apart.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's got 3 kids under the age of 4. So if you're going on a business trip, it needs to count, right? It's not, you're not going just to play or just to go socialize. If you're going, it needs to be an investment of your time, energy, and effort. And so we'd have those conversations. And then the other thing is, I think both of us did recognize that, you know, again, there's a level of providing that needs to take place. And then there's a level of, okay, we're fine. And so if you're really not worried about paying the bills and you are still going to work, you need to set parameters for that. And so we would discuss it. And I said, look, what happens, and where Kelly and I talked a lot about was the issue of is as follows, which is where I think most guys get it wrong. They go to work really, really hard for the first 10 years of their kids' lives because they're going to have enough money to spend time with them later on, right? The goal is, I will eventually get to a point where I have enough time to spend with you. By the time your kids are older teens, they don't want to spend time with their dad. They want to spend time with their friends, and you've missed it.
Yeah.
You missed the whole game. And so you need to make sure that in this goal setting of yours that you factor that in, that you only get to do this once. They're only little once. And if you don't pay attention, and if you're not doing it right, you're going to miss it. And it's the most important thing to establish your relationship, to establish the future memories. There is no amount of money that will buy that back. And I've never heard of somebody ever be so successful that their kids weren't pissed off that they did it, right? Because if you're worth $100 million and you blew off your kid's childhood, they're resentful of it. You went after the money. You were chasing the golden chalice, and you got it. Congratulations. But you missed the important game. And so you have to repair that. You have to fix that. They don't care that if you would have made just enough money to feed them and pay the bills and stay in a small house, and you got to be home and raise them and be dad, they would have picked that.
Man, yeah.
And it's been true. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I've seen that go wrong so many times because so many guys judge themselves by their level of success, and they view that success as money. And when you are keeping your own scorecard as how big is my bank account?
Yeah.
And it is a siren calling to you that you are succeeding, that you are killing it, you're crushing it, you're becoming the man, right? And look how great I'm doing, I'm crushing it. It is the devil using money to drag you away from what is really important in your life. And you're like, if you're not careful, it's like, I gave you everything you asked for. That wasn't God giving you everything you asked for. That was the devil giving you, because the only thing you're asking for is money and power and prestige and who was cool at the country club. And you missed all the important stuff.
Man.
And so I think that's the most powerful lesson of goal setting is you got to focus on what is important.
Makes me think of the verse, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? Yeah, and a lot of people are out there sacrificing their souls
Right.
To gain the world. Yeah, I've seen that too with people. It's rare to see the person, the 4-star general, that's still on their first marriage,
Right.
And has a great relationship with their
Right.
kids. They're there, but they're extremely few and far between.
Right.
Because you got to make a lot of tough choices and sacrifices to get to there. So let's talk about what are some of your best pieces of advice on goal setting? What's some specifics that guys can put into action?
I think the first thing is to actually do it, to realize that it is important, that it should become a part of your life on an ongoing basis. That's the first thing. Is most people just don't do it at all.
Yeah.
They don't really know what it means to set a goal, or they just haven't looked. They're busy working. You're doing stuff. You're doing life. And so you don't sit back and examine, how is this going? You're just, you're running forward with your wife, your kids, your family, whatever. And you're not looking at, how's this working out for me? So the first piece would be to do that, to have that, start examining how you're scoring in your game of life. So I do think that's the first thing. The next is, we talk about SMART goals. It's specific, measurable, achievable, relative, time managed, time specific. So again, a goal is not a dream where you go, well, someday, sometime, somewhere down the road. So those don't count as goals. So what we used to do is you would go through all the major topics of your life, things that were important to you, and you could break it down into a number of different divisions, from health, your marriage, your spiritual life, your physical fitness, your your economics, your again, all the different categories. Give yourself a score. Scale of 1 to 10. How you doing? And if you're a 2 in this section and a 10 over here, great. Keep doing the things that are driving the 10. I think we need to move this 2 to a 4. You don't have to go to a 10. Get it from a 2 to a 4. Let's move the needle a little bit.
Yeah.
So when we are looking at, when we're talking to folks that around the fire, patch class, et cetera, there's a lot of commonalities between some of the things that they say. I want to be a better husband. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What specific, what does better mean for you? And then you have to answer that for yourself. What can you be doing that's better? Anger. A lot of guys angry about stuff. They get pent up. They blow their top. Okay. It's great that you recognize it. What are you going to do about it? So solving that goal would be something as simple as, or could be something as simple as, I'm going to read 3 different anger management books. I'm going to take 1 principle from each of those books or 2 principles from each of those books. I'm going to apply that over the next 3 months. I'm going to have a conversation with my wife. I'm going to have a conversation with my kids about how I've been handling things in the past. Let them know that going forward, I'm going to work on it. Okay, that's a goal.
Yeah.
You're listing it out. And then you do that in all the different compartments of your life. And you don't have to do them all at once because, again, it can be overwhelming and you can't set too many goals. Don't set 20 goals. Set between 2 and 5. So, again, a little tidbit of advice. Don't set more than 5 because you can't focus on them. Don't go less than 2 because then you're too narrow-minded. It's one goal. I need to lose 5 pounds. And, it's like, well, if that's all you're shooting for, really, so set between 2 and 5, make them important, and then write down the details of what you're going to do over the next little while to get there. You start there, and then the last one I would say is start there and then do it forever. You do that till you die. So you're setting goals forever. My kids are at different stages of their lives. Business is at a different phase of its life. Our marriage is at a different phase. We became empty nesters. There's a process for what does Kelly do during this period of time. Kelly was a stay-at-home mom, and she's making the transition to, well, what do I do now? How do I serve? How do I stay relevant as a person that's retired from work? It's my job was my identity. How do I stay relevant? It's all of these things it's a never-ending process. So goal setting is something these folks need to do forever. Get on it, get started, set some goals, go after it. And you're going to find that it will change the way you live your life. And it's after 20-something years of doing it, I know I'm in a different spot today because I did it. And I know with 100% certainty, my life would have been way worse off having not done it.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. You just reminded me. So we've been married, Carrie and I have been married 25 years. And on our 20th anniversary, we were sitting on the front porch steps, and I remember asking her, it was like, all right, 20 years. I said, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about marriage in 20 years? I just threw that out, just super off the cuff. And what scared me was that she didn't immediately answer. She went into like thinking mode. And I was like, oh, she's taking this question very seriously. I was just being anecdotal, say something funny back.
Right.
And she went, okay, let me think. And I started getting worried. But she said, oh, okay, I got it. She goes, the biggest lesson I've learned in 20 years of marriage is that people are constantly changing. You've changed, and I've changed, and we've changed together. And realizing that, she goes, nobody told us that at the beginning.
Right.
I didn't realize when we got married that you're going to change and your spouse is going to change.
Yep.
And then she goes, and that's okay, and we got to be okay with that, and as long as we're changing together.
Boom.
I was like, all right.
She is just chock full of wisdom.
So I think like whatever your goal is, it's for a season. And then, like you said, you have to redo it.
Right.
You got to keep redoing it. I think when I look back at my life, like I used to be really good at setting goals and achieving them. Mm-hmm. And I've had seasons where I was goal setting and crushing it. Mm-hmm. And then I look back and I see a season where you're like, I was just totally drifting during that period.
Right. Right. And I think, the changing is the reason for the continuous update, the continuous evaluation, because your knowledge of what to do is different when you're 22 than it is at 42, right? So you're evaluating your own life and your own problems from a lens of a 22-year-old, right? So you're going to solve it with the 22-year-old's brain. So now you're 42, then you're 62, then you're 82. Your life's perspectives are going to be different. The things you're going after are going to be different, right? What's important to you at 22?
Yeah, hopefully.
Then it's 32. Then it's 42. And your life is constantly in this development and change. And, all of these things are always in motion. And again, as Kerry said, that's a good thing as long as we're changing along with that. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you know you're doing that? How do you know you're changing along with it? I'm looking at it, I'm evaluating, and I'm changing course and direction based upon the things that I have to do in this next phase of my life. Great. Just focus on it. Pay attention. Be in the game. And so a lot of folks just do their day-to-day. They just go forward. They're on the hamster wheel. They don't care that they're on the hamster wheel, or they don't know that they're on a hamster wheel. So they just keep grinding it out, and then you bury them. It's just terrible, right? It's like you have this game of life you get to play, and you get to be involved, and you get to move pieces around the chessboard, and you didn't do any of it because you didn't care. You weren't paying attention. And so this makes you pay attention to get back in the game and really take charge of what you're doing with your life. And then you focus and adapt. And the other thing is, when you're looking at this stuff and you're doing it, you're going to be reading books and having those conversations for other people that have been in front of you, and you're going to gain all the wisdom that they're going to give you. So you just get smarter and smarter and smarter at playing the game because you're listening to all these wise people who've played this game before you, and you're reading all their books, and they're, some of them are thousands of years old and some of them were written yesterday, but it's all out there, and you're like, oh, this has been true for 4,000 years.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And so the handbook's already there. You just gotta play the game.
That's good. A lot of people don't realize the wisdom of most of humanity has been captured and written down. If we care to go read it,
Yep.
It can save us maybe some heartache and scars.
I said this at one of the patch classes. I'm like, every problem you have, every problem of every person in this audience here today, there's books about it. There's not a book about it. There's books and books and books about it. And, so again, it's all, the wisdom's been written down. You just got to search it out.
Okay. So do you have any stories about goals? Any stories to share about like a goal you set at a period of time?
So I'll set, yes, I'll give you the bad one first, and then
good.
we'll go from, so in the beginning of my career, the bosses do teach you to try and, be the guy who works hard, never stops working. You're going to come to work. Nobody's going to outwork you. You're going to be the superstar of the office with the highest numbers up there. And all of that really is a brainwashing program to keep all of these people at work and producing, and they're going to run you till you die and then replace you with somebody else. But they don't really care. So one of the goals was really just trying to be the person that's producing, and I'm going to open multiple offices. I'm going to do all of these things, and and again, that rah, 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 look what I'm going to conquer. And then I did have the realization, I am chasing someone else's goal. This is not really what I want. And so that self-examination of, wait a minute, hold on a minute, let me shake myself out of this and go, I'm chasing the boss's goal. He's not looking out for me. He's looking out for his numbers and everything else. So there was that, and everything about that goal was wrong on so many different levels, because chasing that goal was chasing the money at the expense of the family. It was everything that was wrong with that, and I just hadn't taken the time to stop and really evaluate it. I was just caught up in the program of trying to succeed, and I was young. I didn't have enough experience to argue with, because again, he's more successful than I am. Look how much money he's making. I'm going to listen to him, right? And so they suck you in that way. They give you somebody that's impressive to you, and so you get sucked in. So I would say that's a what not to do. Don't follow this goal because somebody else tells you it's a good goal. You need to set your own goal. So that was the lesson I learned from that. And then most of my, what I'm going to call success stories, were actually really probably the summation of me just setting little goals and getting them. So I didn't set a goal to say, I'm going to earn this, or I'm going to do this as a dad, or I'm going to do this as a husband. I'm going to set all these things. It would be, I need to move the ball 3 yards down the field. That's it. And those decisions became little things on, how Kelly and I fight. How do we argue? We call it the Geneva Convention was what we came with, the rules of the Geneva Convention. These are things we can and can't do in the marriage when we're fighting. You're not allowed to do these things because the other person doesn't tolerate it, or it's like, hey, this is not how we handle things. So we created the rules of the Geneva Convention, and it kept the respect level, and it kept fights from escalating, which was great.
That's really good.
Little silly things of, again, once we passed being able to pay the bills, try to be home for dinner more. All right, I'm going to be home for dinner at least 2 nights a week. Then it became 3 nights a week. And it was, again, you could do this. Just move the ball down the field a little bit.
That's the A, right, in SMART goals? Like achievable?
Achievable.
Like make a small goal.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at this. When I get excited about a goal, a thing, that conversation,
Right.
I would be like, okay, my goal, be home for dinner every night.
Right.
Right. It's
Right.
like, wait, no, that's not a good goal. Because then you're not going to make it every night.
Right.
It's like, I want to start working out more. Okay, I'm going to work out every day. Like, hold on. You're not good.
Yep. Yep. But what happens is when you achieve the 3 yards going downfield, you are more likely to do that goal setting habit again.
Yeah.
Because I just needed to move the ball here to here to here. And then you start doing that. And you start going, hey, this is working for me. This is, my life is getting better. I'm becoming better at this, and all these different facets. And it's not because you're so smart, or it's not because you're so gifted, it's not because of any special thing. If anybody who knew me when I was younger, nobody thinks my IQ's off the charts, right? And so, but it's like, well, then how did these things happen? It was a little bit at a time, focused energy, surrounded myself with the right people. Again, I had accountability partners in Kelly and my kids and my business partners. And, it really was just set that achievableness really helps to create the habit of setting the next goal and the next one and the next one. And before you know it, it's like, hey, you're good at this particular thing where you weren't even paying attention to it a year ago. So it's that. Those little hints of goal setting are what, again, there's a lot of people who will go after what they call BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal, right, is set something that is tremendous. And there is something to that is very entrepreneurial, but in your daily life, just move the ball 3 yards.
Yeah.
Just move it 3 yards. And you'll find that the family will go with you. They're going to be more easily adaptable to these changes in what you're doing. And you just start to compound that success on top of it. One success, the next one, the next one, the next one. And at the end of it, you have a mountain of success that you weren't even thinking about in the beginning when you started this. And your life is so different from where you were going. And it's just like, how did we get here? And it was you just started to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And you just started to do it.
Like they say, like when you're climbing Everest, I love reading about, Everest expeditions. Like, don't look at the whole thing. Don't look up at the top all the time.
Yep.
Right. Just keep looking, 5 yards
Yep.
ahead, because otherwise you just get so overwhelmed.
Right.
And it's like too audacious of a goal where you're like, I'm not going to get up that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's too, it is. It's too much. And then the other thing is, when you haven't done these things, the habits that make you successful, you haven't developed those yet. The mindset of what it takes to either go to the gym every day and be healthy and get physically fit, the mindset of, being an entrepreneur and problem solving, the mindset of making sure that you're handling your duties as a father and making sure that you're creating a loving environment. You don't know how to do all of this stuff yet. You have to learn it. So nobody comes out of the womb with all of this knowledge, but but people act as if they don't have anything to learn. And there's no books to read on parenting. There's no books to read on any of these topics. They just walk through their life. And you're like, you seem to be missing a lot of stuff here. And it's that, I don't know if arrogance is the right word or ignorance is the right word, because it's probably a combination of both. They're walking through their lives like nothing needs to be fixed. I'm good the way I am. I'm perfect as we are, or you're not even paying attention to it at all. And so you just, when you start to see that happen, you see a lot of folks that are sadly missing it.
Yeah.
And it really is just pay attention, be awake.
I want to go back to the boss you had early on, who you were talking about. He was kind of training you from the get-go to have his goal.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time, did this occur, did you ever disappoint that guy? Did you not adopting his goal? Did that ever disappoint him?
They thought I was ridiculous when I quit. Like, they thought that it was like, what an imbecile. That
Really?
This person's going to go open his own business instead of working here at this big, prestigious company. It's like, what an idiot. We've seen other, you're a failure that left. It's like, I didn't hack it. Like, I was viewed as a guy who rung the bell at SEAL school, SEAL training. That's how they viewed me.
He couldn't hack it.
Yeah,
here.
that's
he
how
had to quit.
That's how they viewed me when I left.
Yeah.
And so it was almost mocking. It was almost, really, dude. And so, well, good luck. Have fun with that. It was that. It was more of, you're not in line. Therefore, we will never speak your name again. And the water cooler, Kevin will never be mentioned again. And they just erase you, or from the corporate, from the class. And
does that bother you? Did it bother you at the time?
It did bother me at the time, but it was a motivating bother, because again, it brought up my FU factor. Like, you're gonna prove these people wrong. So all the people who told you what you can't do.
Yeah.
Those voices stayed in my head, and they were motivating things to go, yeah, watch this. Yeah, you tell me I can't do it, now I have to do it. So it lit that fire. And the funny thing was, by the time when I got to the point where now I could rub their face in it, I didn't care to anymore. It was gone. It was like there was no victory. I've won already, shoving their face into it, because they don't even probably. I was just another rookie, young guy who just quit. They haven't thought about me in 20 years. The day I left was the last time they ever thought about me.
Yeah.
So, making a phone call or, driving up to their office or anything like that to go, look what I've done instead. There was no desire to ever do that and rub their nose in it.
I think being okay with disappointing people is just a big part of maturity. I think we're wired, a lot of kind of like type A guys are wired. We want to be impressive. We want to try to impress our bosses.
Sure.
Right? Especially when we're in our 20s.
Yeah, definitely.
We want to be high speed. We want to be impressive. And they know that about us, and it can be used against us. And sometimes, You left that firm to go start yours. I made the decision to, take myself out of the military, and everybody does the exact same thing. You're going to go do what? You're starting a men's ministry. Okay, have fun, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm erased. I'm gone. They don't, know me the next day, kind of a thing. But there's that little like, oh man, moment where you have to be okay with people thinking you've lost your mind.
Right. Right. And you and I talked about this when we were, sort of when Men's Alliance was starting to really expand. But it is, people will, it's like, because they can't see themselves doing it, therefore it's dumb for everyone else to do it.
Oh, man.
Is really the best way to explain it, right? It's like, I would never do that. That's why you'll still be there 20 years from now.
I would never do that. Therefore, that's dumb for anyone to do.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It is really a mindset. And even the people who cared about me, who wanted the best for me, would also tell me, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that if I were you. And here's why I wouldn't do it. Not from a jealousy and not from an envy standpoint, but just from a protective standpoint. They want to see me be safe. And I understand that. I get that. And those types of advice didn't really bother me. It was kind of disappointing when my dad was originally kind of like, what, are you out of your mind? Not even, and part of it was he was trying to encourage me to take the safer road, and I get it.
Right.
But that was probably the only one that was like, ow, where I felt that one. Most of the other people that were doing it just out of either arrogance, jealousy, wishing me ill going forward, those were like, it really more of a F you than I didn't put a ton of stock into it. It was more, just got me angry, fired me up to do it. And those people really didn't have much of an impact on my decision making. But it is true. Like if they wouldn't do it, you're an idiot.
With a lot of different voices, like speaking into your life, bosses, coworkers, even your dad, when you have a goal and you've got several different voices in your life saying, I don't think you should go for that, or are you sure you want to go for that, or isn't that kind of risky? You've got kind of all those. What was it? How is it that you still went for it? Was there something or someone that propelled you to go against such a current,
There's a lot of summations of things, I guess, that would lead to it. One of the voices we haven't talked a lot about, I had my martial arts instructor that I've known since I was 12. I started training there. Was, to a great degree, fairly ruthless in how he coached us, right? It was, he was just a hard ass. But you're training people to fight. This is not a country club. It isn't the after school daycare. We're teaching you how to fight.
Yeah.
It was more combative back then.
Yeah.
But if you lost
You went to Cobra Kai.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the older man in Cobra Kai,
Yeah.
there was some similarities, I think, between the two. But the accountability factor was, if you lost, it was your fault. You didn't block, you didn't move, you didn't shift, you didn't hit, you didn't train, you didn't this. It was, you owned it. And there was no such thing as an excuse for why you failed that was acceptable. I think I had sports coaches that were like that. So again, if you're playing on a team sport, playing football, etc., you're accountable to the person next to you, and so you push yourself. So there was a lot of the sports and the athletic competition was like, oh, nope, you can do this. Every major movie that guys love is a comeback story or some story of somebody who was not supposed to achieve. The Rocky, the Rudy, it's like
That's
people
right.
are crying over all these movies because it's the underdog.
Nobody wants to watch a movie where a guy just has smooth sailing.
Yeah, right. Even Bob Costas, a sportscaster, had said he got so tired of interviewing people that were coming up with all these sad stories. He's like, I wanted to talk to one guy who just got out of the pool and said, I was good at this. And they just swam. And, it was just, there was no tear,
Yeah.
no dramatic tears to the story. But I think the voices, going back to your question, the voices were, I think, a summation of a lot of things, and obviously praying and, what does God want me to do in some of these decisions. And really, as I got older, certainly I did more of that, more praying and more, trying to focus God, on God, pulling him more into my life, where I didn't do that when I was younger. It was not as much of in my decision-making process. I wasn't as strong in my faith. So yeah, there's a couple of things. Our personalities are everything that developed as a kid.
Right.
It's all the voices,
Yeah.
and they all led to making me an 8 in an Enneagram, which means rage is my default emotion. And so the fire to succeed when somebody else told me not to, that's where I think some of that comes from.
That's cool. Yeah. I think a lot of guys have that martial arts coach in their life at some point, right? Whether it's a football coach,
Right,
or a first boss or something like that, that I'm betting you still hear his voice. When you do a lot of things, you know if
Yep.
the thing you're doing would have pleased him or not.
right. Sure.
I think most guys that have been in the military, we hear our drill instructor's voice for the rest of our life.
Right. And it is a lot of that. And there's a forming of your personality.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you to mold your personality. Once you're an adult, it's now up to you to mold the talents and the personality that you're given to focus it on the things that you choose and use it. And those voices that help create us and shape us, they're all there for a reason, the good and the bad. And you just use the bad and the good to go, okay, these are the lessons I've learned on what not to do. And then this is the strength to help me drive forward.
Are there any large goals, kind of like a meta goal? Are there any basic large goals that you think every young man should have, every 20-something man? Are there some like just fundamental goals that you would tell guys that are listening to this and wondering, like, what goals did this guy set that I could set?
That's a great question. And I'm thinking the answer is no, is my instinctive answer, because there's a lot of different ways that people can be happy.
Okay.
And so there were things that worked for me that were based on what I wanted to achieve, that were very Kevin specific. And if Kevin didn't achieve some of these things, it would have been a disappointment. It would have been a letdown to me. But there are other folks that are living totally different types of lives and lifestyles, and they're very happy people, and they're not focusing on a lot of the same things that I'm focusing on. So goals are as disparate as human nature itself.
Yeah.
So I would say that the answer is probably no. For me personally, the only one is probably generic across the board. And even as I'm saying it, I'm going, well, no, there's exceptions to that too, because the ignorance is bliss is going to counter what I'm about to say, is the focusing on, are you doing okay? Are you living life? Or, you doing well? How do you evaluate yourself? And then there's kind of the hippie in the trailer that's driving around the countryside. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He could be happy. He could be doing his thing. And so I think goal setting is probably more individualistic and not as generic across the board. I think as we start to isolate the types of people we're talking about, then there would be certain commonalities we can start to put together. But in general, I think
Okay.
I'm finding it hard to come up with one
Yeah.
across the board. Yes, everyone should do this thing.
Okay.
I don't have one that I can think of.
Okay.
I'll put one back. I'll put that question back to you. Can you think of an everyone goal?
I would just say, like, probably not like a specific goal, but like you kind of mentioned earlier, like all those different areas, like physical, spiritual, relational, like a guy, like categories where a guy should consider, do I want to set a goal for myself about money? Do I want to set a goal for myself about health? So I think like in those categories, I don't know if this counts as like a goal setting because it's not specific or whatever. Like I would say the specifics would be different for everybody, but I would say we should have like, there's got to be some sort of a goal that you would put for your marriage. Like I would say, my goal might be to improve my marriage. Mm-hmm. So to get there, I'm going to then do something specific, and the specifics would all be different. But I would say everybody should have a goal to date their wife or romance their wife, pursue their wife in some way, and some goal for if you've got kids, for spending certain amounts of quality time with kids if you've got them. I think, and I'm just thinking this through too, relationally, that's where I would say we should all have those common goals. But then when I think about things like money or fitness, those are far too disparate, I think, to come up with anything like that. I would say this. I would say some people, you can err on the other side. I might ask the question, not are there goals that we should all have, but is there a goal that no one should have? Like, are there just really unhealthy, bad goals?
The chasing the money goal is an unhealthy, bad goal. Because again, Christians have really twisted, in many cases, the Bible's perspective on money. Money is a tool the same as grain is, right? It's just a means of bartering between people. Mm-hmm. That love of money is the root of all evil. Having it isn't evil. Not having it, in the same way, God does not condemn a poor man, nor does he condemn a wealthy man. Both need Christ in order to enter the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you're misusing it, so again, if a poor man is poor and he's just poor, it's not a reflection of his character or a sin. But if he's poor because of he's doing these horrible, awful things, well, then that's part of his character. And the same is true of the wealthy. If they're getting there by dishonest means, they're hoarding, they're being greedy, they're being selfish, then those are the types of goals, of course, we want to stay away from. But I think the chasing of money, for the most part, is almost always bad. Even if you want economic freedom, there's a lot of other ways to do it. If money becomes the end game, you are taking your eye off the real important thing. It's almost always the wrong goal, and it's never enough. Like the movie, I think it was the second Wall Street, where they come out and he's like, "What's your number?" And the guy just looks at him and goes, "More." And I'm like, that. Yeah. As obvious as that character was trying to be a schmuck in the movie, and they were using that line to make the point that he's a jerk, that happens all the time in real life. They just don't say it that way.
Yeah.
They're more polite about it. They're more diplomatic about it. Mm-hmm. But they don't have the number that they... Yeah, it's always over the hill. There's another number that is more past what they already have. And so when you see these guys that are not coming home from work, they're worth $30 million, $40 million, $50 million, $80 million. And you're still going after it. You're still chasing it because it is more. More is truly their answer. They just would never say it that way like they did in the movie.
I think a lot of men go after the thing that they know they can succeed at, right? And for a lot of men, that's work. Mm-hmm. That's their job. Mm-hmm. And the area that I'd say most men, we feel the least equipped to win at is relationships, right? Like stuff with our teenage daughter or something with our wife. And we're like, that is so confusing and so far out of my element. And I have no idea how to win there. Right. So I would rather go back to the office and burn some midnight oil. And I know I can get employee of the month there.
Totally true.
So I'd say like anything that a guy gets like an imbalance in his life with his goals, right? Like you were talking about this, this pursuit of money. I think the exact same thing could be said for like the pursuit of, this is going to sound crazy, but this is my example of like I picture bodybuilders where their entire life is their physical appearance. And it's like they've sacrificed everything for that. It's like,
Right.
well, that's a good thing. Physical fitness is a good thing, just like money. But you can get it so far out of balance.
That's a great analogy.
That like that's just your God is just you're worshiping that. So I guess like you can do that with anything, right? Academics
Yep.
is good, but not if you're going for your third PhD. You should probably stop. Like, just tap out. You've got enough. You're smart enough.
Go for a walk.
Yeah.
Go hold someone's hand on a walk.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for a slow walk on the beach. It's just anything where you make it your idol and you elevate it above the relationships in your life, and you can put probably just about anything there. And I'd say again, it's usually done probably because the guy's not good at the relationship. So he's going to go all in on pursuing degrees or bodybuilding or money or whatever. It's like, I can win over here. I can't win over here.
Right. Yeah, and we have seen so many guys, like, again, most of my life was in the financial world. So at these conferences and meetings, you meet all these folks, and everyone who was failing in their marriage with their kids, they would be bragging about how it's going at work. Just to put an exclamation point on what you said. My business is killing it. My wife's not talking to me.
Yeah.
And my daughters you're not speaking to me either. And there were a couple of us that knew that, family's important, and we're like, you're losing. And part of our job in that was to make them aware, you're losing. You need to focus on those other things. Business is going great. That's wonderful. Turn back around and get back in the game with your wife, your kids. And that was obviously if we were close enough to have those conversations. But you're exactly right. They will turn to work. They're killing it. They're the rock star.
Yeah.
But as you look back on your life and go, how did I do? You failed if your relationships are non-existent or are poor.
Right. This might be our last question. I don't know. What's worse? A guy who doesn't set goals, or a guy who sets goals too big and constantly fails to reach them? Is it better to set goals that you can't reach, or to not set them?
I think it's better to set goals that you can't reach, because eventually you'll break that habit, right? Because you're going in the right direction. You just bit off more than you could chew. And so, but you knew you needed to move. You knew you needed to try and go somewhere and do something, but it just is too big.
Yeah.
And so you start going kind of back to what we were talking about earlier. Just go for the 3 yards. Just get 3 yards. Because if you keep setting, I'm going to do this by this, and it doesn't work out, you still moved in the right direction, and you're going to see the benefits of doing that. So I would say shooting for the bigger goals is the lesser of two evils in that scenario, because I do think that unexamined life isn't worth living type of thing. It is sad how many men walk through life without ever looking at how they're doing and how they're affecting the other people around them. So to stay living a life blindly, to me it's a shame. It's really it's sad. And you're like, and part of what, I hope to do with the goal setting is wake some of these guys up into, hey, you are important to all the people around you. You matter. You're a big deal. You're daddy. You're the husband. You're whatever you are. Go be good at that.
Yeah, that's so good, because I know for a fact a lot of men are listening to this who they're a little bit afraid to set a goal because that creates an opportunity to fail. And I know some men are like, well, I don't want to fail. So therefore, they just don't ever even set it.
Let me put that to bed.
Yeah.
I have failed at more goals that I have put on paper than I have ever achieved. So the W column has a few in it, and the L's column has a lot.
Man, I think that's
Oh my
amazing
gosh.
just to hear you say that. Like, I'm like, wow.
Because the whole thing is, it's like, again, you come up with an idea that you think is a good idea at the time,
Yeah.
and it turns out I didn't really evaluate that or think it through, or you set a goal in a whim, or whatever, or I didn't set it in time. I didn't get it in
Yeah.
time. I set a good goal, but I didn't make it in time. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I failed at doing. And Focus and I were talking about this before we sat down. It's like, you win or you learn. And I was like, well, I jokingly say it's like, no, I like to admit that it's a loss. I ate it. I face planted in life. I did something
Don't
that was
sugarcoat
horrifically
it.
stupid. And that makes me actually extract the lesson from it, because the pain is what motivated me not to do that thing again. It is the loss. It is the admitting and the shame of failure, the thing that I screwed up at, the times where I blew it, didn't do the thing I should have done, that motivated me to go, okay, we can't have this happen again. And so the losses do matter, and it's very cliche to say that. Like, you learn more from your losses than you do your wins. It's like, the reason it's a cliche is because it is true. It's like, when you don't feel the pain, you're not really motivated.
Yeah.
When you have choked so badly that you put everyone around you at risk, and everyone looks to you as the captain of the ship, and you're headed for an iceberg, and we're driving into this iceberg because the captain was stupid. You don't want to carry that weight,
Yeah.
and so you change. So if you don't fail, you're less likely to change. It's got to be a pain point that makes you move.
Man, that's so good. I think we've all got to get more comfortable failing and talking about those failures and
Totally.
admitting them. And
Oh, yeah.
and because, like to your point, if you are afraid to fail, it's that fear is going to keep you from attempting. I think Babe Ruth, I think he also led in strikeouts,
Yeah,
right?
right.
He hit more home runs, but he also struck out more because he's up there just swinging away.
Right. And again, it's all these cliches, but they are true. It's like, well, you were at bat a lot of times. You're not expected to hit the ball all the time. Just keep swinging away at it, and you're going to make progress. And that's your life too. You swing, miss, miss, swing. Oh, that was a good one. Oh,
Yeah.
that was a good one. That was a good one. But again, extending the metaphor, it's like, well, you never swung the bat, so you never struck out. Never put up any runs, never got any hits, nobody ever cheered your name. You sat on the bench.
Yeah.
At least you never struck out. And really, as sad as it is, most guys will live that latter life.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the majority.
That is.
That's the majority of
That's
men
the
on
part that I'm
planet.
saying is so sad.
Yeah.
It's like you're not even in the game. You're not playing. It's like, get up, swing the bat.
Yeah.
Come on, guy, get up. You could do it. You can hit the ball. Go do that. And that's the sadness of it, is that it's the analogy of they weren't smart enough or motivated enough or not courageous enough
Yeah, I think
to get in the game.
Courage is a big part. That makes me think of the man in the arena speech,
Oh, yeah.
by Teddy Roosevelt. Those cold and timid souls
Right.
who know neither.
We're going to get that
victory
on my
nor
back
defeat.
tattoo.
Man, that's such a great line, right? It's better to get in there and lose valiantly, while trying. So, man, one of the biggest takeaways for me from this has been just the idea of the 3-yard goal, right? Like I said, this is an area where I know I'm constantly setting too big of goals that then I can't reach them, and then I'm discouraged, and then I quit because I set some stupid goal in the first place. So one of the things I'm taking away from this is set more 3-yard goals, more 3-yard goals, and be okay failing. hearing you say I've got more in the loss column than the win column, I think that's a little surprising. And so that's cool to hear. That makes me want to, swing more for the fences, get up there. It's better to set a goal and not reach it than to have not set it in the first place. And then, I think the other big takeaway here is what you were talking about at the beginning about spending time with your kids and knowing what your success looks like, and being willing to leave work and be home for dinner.
It's like if you could draw out your life for yourself, what would it look like? Now go do that.
That's good.
That's all I got, man.
Chronicles number 2.
All right. In the books, baby. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, this was great.